Welcome to NuttieBuddie Entertainment.
Okay, let's go to the good.
I got nothing else.
Okay, let's go on to the good. Let's start with Brian on this one. What's one good you had?
I had Darth Maul in my good.
You're
just
horrible.
Him. For the sheer fact that he didn't have that much dialogue, which is actually a bonus for being in this movie. The less dialogue you can have, the less mistakes you're going to make, basically. And then he was gone too soon. They should never have killed him off. He should have been that antagonist for Obi-Wan through like all three of these going forward. But yeah, but otherwise I did have Obi-Wan in my good. Seeing his fighting skills, especially when it came for Darth Maul, and just seeing how good of a Jedi he is. He was a little whiny in parts, especially like when he was calling, like, you picked I think when we saw Jar Jar, he's like, you picked up another like useless life form or something like that. And then too with Anakin, just like he did not want him to like come along or anything like that. So it was interesting that he ended up training him, you know. But yeah, I liked Obi-Wan in this, kind of his origin story, if you will. So
yeah, I felt like Obi-Wan in the movie was sort of like they wanted the kind of give you the picture that he's very by the book, if that makes sense. Like even when like you're going against the Jedi, he's too old. They'll never let you train him or whatever. So he's like by the book, which kind of sets up sort of the ending where he kind of like relaxes that by the book mentality to, you know, train Anakin to fulfill his master's wishes. But I think Qui-Gon was trying to work with Obi-Wan on that, like to be a little bit more, you know, reasonable about things. But yeah, I would agree with you on Obi-Wan being a good. Travis, you got a good for us?
Yeah, so I enjoyed Qui-Gon. Well, not enjoyed is the wrong word, but him dying in the movie, it did add like a sense of an emotional factor there, that if he didn't die, then it would just be like another movie where all the good characters live again, basically, and it just keeps going. So it did add a little bit of like some repercussions to things that were happening. You know, the Jedi Temple sent these two Jedi to go with the Queen the whole time, and only one of them's coming back, basically. So I thought that was well done on their part.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And it also, again, like just opens up that big conversation that Star Wars fans can have about like, what if he doesn't die? What if Obi-Wan was the one that died and not Qui-Gon or whatever, you know, and then what would have happened to Anakin? So yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Let's see, Chris, you got a good for us?
Yeah, I'll just keep on going with the Obi-Wan topic. I thought this was something I never had picked up on before. I would assume it would be intentional, but I thought there was some kind of there were some subtle hints that like Obi-Wan wasn't ready to be this kid's mentor. Because if you remember in the Jedi Council scene, you know, they're like, you can't take on two Padawans, and he's like, well, you know, Obi-Wan's ready to be a Jedi Knight. And I mean, if we really want to get like nerdy deep into it, they're supposed to complete the trials and to like prove that to be true. And Obi-Wan doesn't do that. He just becomes a Jedi Knight because Qui-Gon died and he's assigned to Padawan. I forget who mentioned it, but Qui-Gon is kind of still mentoring him on like a trust the Force, like go with the flow sort of thing, instead of just always being like, this is how it's got to be. So like he still had things to learn from Qui-Gon about just like chilling out, trust the process. So I thought that was kind of a more subtle, interesting arc that I hadn't picked up on before. So I'd say that's a good for me.
Yeah, you know, when you talk about him not having to do the trials, I wonder because he killed a Sith, where they like,
Oh,
you know, like why would he have to do the trials if he's able to kill the Sith? He's good enough to be a Jedi Knight. You know what I'm saying? That's sort of like a headcanon for me. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. The other thing that's kind of interesting about that too is that like they never mention it ever again. Maybe it's supplemental materials, but like he kind of like goes on the attack mode and he like really draws on his rage. You know, he sees his mentor get killed and he just like wails on Darth Maul. And I guess that would be kind of like a dark side dealio. But they kind of just are like, let's not think about that at all.
Well, he almost died. He almost died doing that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
True. That's a good point.
Oh no, yeah, I thought that was interesting too, where he almost did. It seemed like he taps into the dark side to get that vengeance for Qui-Gon, and yeah, that's a big no-no. But yeah, we're just gonna skip over that.
Well, no one was there to witness it either. Like Yoda wasn't watching them, being like, "Hey, settle down there, champ. You can't be mad." You know, Spencer, you got a good for us?
You guys had mentioned before the music, but I think in general the whole sound design of the movie is really good. I actually listened to part of a commentary from George Lucas, and he says, which is very pretentious, but I appreciate his perspective on it. And I quote, "The films are actually composed along the lines of music, which is that there are many themes going on through the film and the themes are repeated." He says visual jazz, and I'm doing air quotes for that. They take the same concept and reinterpret it visually. So if you notice throughout the entire movie, there's like constant big orchestration. The only time there isn't, it's like to add dramatic tension. It's like when the first robot releases his, you know, little claws when he's rolled up, there's like a little bit of pause in the music and you're like, whoa, what's happening? So obviously, Duel of the Fates, incredible song. Everybody loves it. Super iconic, bombastic, over the top, but also the droid invasion. It's just like so great. Like all the music in the movie, it might be the best Star Wars music in any Star Wars film. And in addition to that, as has been said, you guys mentioned the pod race. Like just the sound of the engines is so incredible, and like everyone is so loud and so different. And yeah, lightsabers crashing, you know, classics. All the blasters have a sound. All the, you know, every ship has its own distinct sound. I just love the sound of Star Wars so much. So that's good.
Yeah, that's really good. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah, not something I personally noticed, so I'm glad that like when people point stuff out, like it's funny because like doing these podcasts, that's what I've noticed is like different people love different things about movies, and like Chris and Brian and I, and Travis, you know, so it's kind of nice when other people point things out that you just haven't thought of. Go ahead. There you have it, just a clip of our podcast when we went over the great, the good, the bad, and the ugly for The Phantom Menace. If you'd like to listen to the rest of the podcast, go ahead and click on one of the links below or look wherever you get your podcasts. Also, please subscribe and like the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will talk to you guys soon.